Shut.
Dum, 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 dum,
Space between.
I've been thinking a lot about forgiveness.
Why?
I mean, there are things that I forgive you for, but I was looking back at my history. You know, I feel like we're in this current social media culture where someone is embodied by their past mistakes, and I was thinking about back to fifth grade. No, it was sixth grade. I was in Miss Sutton's class, and I had in my desk a stack of Pokemon cards. What we would do is we would bring the cards, which were not allowed, right? And we would trade the cards with other students.
Like illegal contraband.
Exactly. And
I used to do something along those lines at school too.
did you? What? Weed. Weed. Yeah, this was much more innocent, even though we're the same age probably. And what would happen was this. It would create this sort of prohibition era law. Because say, if you were on a prohibition speakeasy, right? And your place gets robbed and they steal all your liquor, you can't go to the cops because then you're admitting a crime. Mm-hmm. So there was this sort of ethos in Miss Sutton's class where you couldn't
Like an honor code?
report your stolen Pokemon cards. So one day, a kid named Travis brought in a little tiny deck. It was very thin compared to my deck. And Travis, you know, he had a bit of a reputation in class. And he showed me the cards and said that he had a double of a card that I had none of. And that card was Wartortle. It was a beautiful bluish purple card. And it would complement my first ever holographic card, Blastoise, beautifully. I offered to trade him the Wartortle, but I noted he didn't have a second one in that deck. Oh, he probably had one at home. So I flipped through the cards and I showed him my suggested trade. And between classes, as everyone got up, we just did a quick swap. And I opened up my desk and I put my newly acquired Wartortle in the desk. And then I quickly got up and I walked off to the science class because there were some subjects where you would leave Miss Sutton's class because she was no expert, right? And you would go to other
Just
classes.
send you off, yeah.
Right. And there was the science teacher. She was a ginger woman, right? And I have one memory of her, and that is a girl named Anastasia who looked nothing like her name. Asked this teacher one day if she was pregnant, and the teacher said, "You never ask a woman that, but yes." But yes.
That's really funny.
I returned to class and I found that when I opened up my desk to take a look at my newly acquired Wartortle, not only was it gone, my deck had been thinned.
Oh, shit.
And I know it was you, Travis.
In case you watched the podcast.
Isn't
this about forgiveness?
Listen.
Okay.
I'm forgiving him right now.
All right.
You're going to need some after this. I reported him to Miss Sutton. I was like, you know what? It's worth it. I want that Wartortle back. But Travis, you, I've carried this with me for years. I knew him through multiple years of school. And to me, he was summarized by this one slight that he had against me. So, Travis, I just want to let you know that you're more than that stolen Wartortle plus probably about 20 other cards. And I forgive you.
It's very big of you.
I've been thinking about this.
Very good.
This is the Space Between Podcast, and my name is Pat Shand.
I am Amy Shand.
We're about to invite our guest in. How do you do this again? How do you do this? Oh, participants. Okay, this is very, very, very professional. So how are you today?
Good. I was just going to talk about how we celebrated our anniversary this past week.
Fucking do it before the guest comes here.
We celebrated our anniversary this past week, our 3-year wedding anniversary. And it was super nice. Still love him. Still going to stay, you know.
Oh, wow.
3 years in.
Yeah.
Like how at work I have him on like a 3-month probational period in case I don't do the best. That was like your probation period.
Oh, so I'm locked in now.
Locked in.
That's good.
Just kidding. You were locked in when I freaking said yes to your proposal, but I was just making a joke. It was really fun. Unfortunately, I did have to work some of the day, but that was totally fine because like it's a new job and everything, and we're excited that I have it.
Forgiveness.
He forgave me for it. He also forgave me for ordering his gift too late in the time of COVID. So what the little thing that I got for you is it's going to be fun because it's going to come in like a week or so, I hope. And then it'll be exciting all over again. But you made like the best dinner.
Oh, thank you.
It was so good. Made a pot roast. And I was looking forward to him bragging about it all my shift at work. And then even so much so that the next day they asked me how it was and I got to talk about it again.
I'll clarify.
Yeah. It's not pot roast, is it?
No, I've let you say this.
Shouldn't have done that.
It essentially is pot roast.
It's a roast that you made in a pot.
What it is short rib, okay?
Oh, that's why it's so good.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a holiday meal for a holiday.
It's when I first made
there
it.
She is.
When I first made it, I was more like I was a bit insecure about the meal, so I was more critical of it. But I made it, I believe, 3 times since then, and now I really
Now you're like
enjoy
comfortable with it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, and I also got
good.
you. I thought you were going to talk about my gift to you.
I wasn't done, but.
Then go ahead.
And then hi.
Hi.
I will say quickly, just because I was just talking, welcome to the podcast. Pat loves to invite the guests in mid-podcast, so unfortunately I was like just mid-sentence, but that's okay.
That's how you get the best stuff though, right?
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the gift that Pat made me, because we're still waiting on his, is just like the coolest video, because he took the video of our wedding day, and
He took the video.
a couple of other bits, you know, and he made this like 40-minute long video with like podcast style edits and stuff like that.
Their love affair begins when Pat went to San Diego and began working at the Starbucks on Claremont and Balboa. You all know it. There, Amy had already established herself as the greatest barista in all the lands. And the two became fast friends. Best friends. It was a meet cute over coffee, in the most literal sense. Their friendship soon blossomed and went from friendship to relationship.
And I'm even erect right now.
And that relationship impelled them to form a family of cats and to pursue numerous creative projects and to live a life of love and joy.
And we just sat down and watched. It's like the best movie I've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
I was like crying the whole time and also laughing the whole time because, you know, I was just emotional and I was happy and it was just the coolest gift ever. The coolest gift ever. I would like to get it on like a hard drive so I could make a clay cover for the hard drive.
Oh, damn.
Like I do for the lighters.
That's cool, yeah.
Maybe we can download it onto there and then I could have it as a necklace even.
We could do that.
That's
A necklace.
amazing.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
And
a good
now everybody, no one is ever going to be able to top a gift like that.
I
So you
know.
may as well just like
I
that has
know.
sealed the deal.
He is a great gift giver, I'll be honest.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, totally. So anyway,
yeah, we're happy to welcome you to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's our pleasure. Just so you know, your name is Stephanie Cannon, okay? Right?
Okay,
yeah.
Last time I checked.
Yeah. That's how I introduce you, you know,
Yep.
to yourself. But I'm going to also let you have the opportunity to introduce yourself and promote anything that you want to promote. I know that at the end, we're gonna send people toward your links, toward your writer stuff. But we definitely want to segue also into this very interesting story that you have.
Yeah, totally. And I want to ask about your tattoo already because the top of it looks really cool.
It's poppy.
Oh,
for,
it's so
like
beautiful.
California.
Yeah, totally. Are you from California?
Yep.
Awesome. Me too.
Yeah.
I grew up in San Diego.
Oh, did you? Okay, so I'm in Central California now,
Cool.
but I originally lived in the Bay Area.
Nice.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I love California.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so
Yes. So, introduce yourself, your work, who you are, what you do. If your last name like has led you to make any like muscle jokes, like I got the cannons, you know,
Got
like
the cannons,
Yeah.
guns.
Yeah.
Normally, I think 3 times now I've gotten, are you related to Nick Cannon? And I'm like, I don't know.
if only
I
by
don't think
marriage.
so.
Yeah.
Now I know that I'm not, though.
yeah, that would surprise me if you were. Yeah.
He was one of I was a fan of his when I was younger.
Really?
Yeah, because I watched his like teeny bop movies.
Oh, Drumline, huh?
Oh hell
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Drumline.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Amy was big into like
You Got Served.
all that stuff, like
Honey.
R&B.
Hip-hop dance movies.
Big 3LW fan, you know.
Huge 3LW.
Yeah, yeah.
Cheetah Girls even.
Oh, yeah,
I went
yeah,
as
yeah.
far as Cheetah Girls. Don't even start.
Oh, man.
But
That-
anyways,
that's
what kind
taking it back.
of what kind of stuff do you write?
I've done, some horror short stories. Right now, it's mostly like fantasy stuff. I've got my writing partner and I. We're actually in the middle. We've got 9 days left on our Kickstarter right now
Awesome.
for our medieval fantasy series. So it's a 3-issue series, and this is issue 3 and the trade.
Nice.
So
Fun. So
That's
we'll
a big
definitely
thing
make
that
sure to
we're
put a
promoting
link
right
for the
now.
Kickstarter down underneath our video and stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be right here in the description below. Please click that. And if you're listening, just go to our SoundCloud page and you'll see the link for that there. Please support our guests. If you don't, you know,
Just stop watching.
major
kidding.
major problems, you know. I was talking earlier in this episode about forgiveness, and I have made the decision to look back at an incident that happened to me in 6th grade. I won't retell the whole story, but I'll just say it involves a War Turtle card in Pokemon that I acquired, and then the person that I acquired it from absconded with more of my cards than I intended, you know? So I just want to say I forgive Travis again.
Right.
Okay? So,
But then he also wants to say, if you don't support our guests, we'll never forgive you.
yeah.
At the same time.
Right, so,
to say
yeah,
that.
please click the link below.
No, but yeah, that's where we have all of our information and stuff. So it's cool to check out. And that's fun because Pat, I remember when I met Pat, he was writing for a company called Zenoscope. And they do a lot of, like fantasy type stuff. And that's kind of where you got your roots in comics, I would say, like why you started working there.
Yeah.
So that rings a bell to me. I think my favorite was the Robin Hood.
Oh,
But I also
yeah.
like the Red Riding Hood one.
Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, Code
people
Red.
are really
Yeah.
digging the fantasy right now, and drag. So we're like, we have these dragons in our story. People dig dragons. We need to have some support merch because people will buy stuff
Absolutely.
with dragons on it.
Right.
And so our big reveal that we did last night was literally we have this leather maker friend of ours, hammers, handmade custom leather making stuff.
I'm like
And he
drooling
made
at the
this
mouth.
ridiculous
Shit.
mask. I mean, it's huge and ridiculous.
Oh,
we
is it-
revealed it last night.
that's
'cause we're
cool.
like, it's amazing. And then he did some photo shoots with it where somebody's wearing it. He's wearing like a suit. and
That's
he's got
so neat.
It's badass. It's really
That is so cool. I love stuff like that. Like I found a leather maker on Etsy that actually makes like handbags and larger size bags, and when they fold over and they're made all out of leather, they actually look like you have like a dragon on your hip or your side.
Damn.
It's mad cool.
That reminds me of Drabbits.
Yeah. Got a few of
I mean,
those.
you, Steph, have probably seen Drabbits around because we met at a convention, right?
Yeah, I think it was it San Diego?
I think it
might
was
have
San
been.
Diego,
been.
yeah. Yeah, because
It might have been San Diego, yeah.
yeah, that's where Amy discovered Drabbits, and we now have perched in our closet.
I think it's like a mix of dragon and rabbit.
I think so too. Yeah, it's like these fluffy, maybe clay based. I don't know.
Yeah, they're made out of a bunch of stuff, but it's like a base of polymer clay, and it's a wire puppet. So it sits on your shoulder, and it looks like a little gremlin thing. And their heads move, and sometimes their wings move, and stuff like that.
Yeah, you've probably seen them before, just in
I
passing.
was going to say, it sounds familiar.
They're like handcrafted, so they're pretty pricey. And whenever I go, I try to snatch one of the little ones up. But some people have some really big, intricate ones, and they bring them to conventions and stuff, and learn how to like puppeteer them and everything. And I think that's so sick.
Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, also, before we get into your story too, I want to give a shout out to your co-writer. That's Matt Knowles, right?
Yep. Yes. Yeah. So together we have In Symmetry Creations. That's kind of our LLC that we do everything that we create together.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Matt's a very funny guy. Matt and I have such different interests and backgrounds that Matt, because I listen to hip hop, he talks to me as if I'm like an alien sometimes, you know. And I'm like, dude, like this is like the most popular brand of music in the world right now, you know. But he's like a rap guy, you know.
Because it's strange, and you've talked about it before, like the rap scene and like the hip hop music and stuff and comics are just really on like polar opposite sides of the social spectrum for some reason.
Yeah, it's weird.
And that's why I thought it would be cool. And when you were talking about, I don't know if you want to bleep this out or whatever, but when you were talking about making a comic with like Charlemagne.
Oh yeah.
Because he has such a large following.
Right.
But probably, I don't want to like assume, I would assume that a lot of them, you know, they don't really read comics or whatever. So
it's actually, the divide is the opposite end. It's more on the comic side, where rappers like Redman, Method Man, Eminem, they're very comic book based.
That's cool.
The entire Wu-Tang Clan loves and reads comics. It's the comics community more that I feel like the comics community is very into more than other communities, maybe metal. And definitely wrestling too. I've noticed that there's there's a love that hip hop shows comics that isn't necessarily returned in some ways. Where comics is very into metal and wrestling, and I've noticed that what is very funny and just like kind of a culture shock to me when I started getting into indie comics. Comics creators would like describe something that's subversive as punk, you know, like punk rock. Whereas when I grew up, if you were a punk, that meant you're like you're a punk ass bitch, you know. Mm-hmm. And it's just like it's just like a very different ethos than I'm used to.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely.
But yeah, Matt's a funny guy. He's cool. Before we get into your thing, this is the last bit about your creations before the end, but how did you and Matt meet and start your company?
So we had a mutual friend on Facebook who was in the publishing world, and he had posted something where he was having a tough time or something, and so we both had posted words of support. And I had just put out a one-page comic there was like a little online competition called Ghost City Comics. And I had gotten finalists for that. And so I had it as like my profile picture or my cover or something. And he saw the art. My comic came up because he had commented. And so he saw the art and really dug it. And the rest is history. We started talking and at some point figured out he was like 3 issues into the steampunk time travel series that he had created, called Heirs of Isildur. And I read the issues, and that was the thing. He's a metal musician, and so we kind of have integrated metal music into the stuff that we do. And that was the first time I'd ever read a comic where it would say, if you want to learn more about this character, go to this YouTube video and watch this music video. And it was all created by him. Okay. I'm like, this is so cool.
That is so innovative, yeah.
That was very, very cool.
That sheds some light on something that he said to me. He sent me a link and mentioned a band, and I think you're in the music video.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah.
That's his band.
So that's ABNEY Park. Yeah.
Oh,
that
okay.
just came out recently.
I didn't know he was in a band, so that makes so much sense.
That's probably why he makes fun of you a little bit for rap
because he's in it. He's in it. Yeah. I didn't know he plays. I mean, maybe I knew and forgot at some point, but At first I was like, he's sending me this as if like I know the band. So now I know why, because it's him.
Yeah. This whole like conversation.
Yeah, he started off as a metal musician and did that for years and years and toured Europe and did stuff like that, and then kind of took a little bit of like a creative break and then started getting back into it by doing it. And Airs actually started off as more of like an illustrated novel and sort of morphed through time, and I became like an editor and started consulting on it.
That's cool. That's cool.
But yeah. So we try to integrate the metal aspect into it when we can.
That reminds me of the Metalocalypse. Do you know
exactly?
That?
Yeah.
That
exactly.
I had a Elaine.
Your what?
My ex. My ex.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I always say whenever I tell a story, I'm like, oh yeah, I went to a movie with my ex.
Like if there could be music in the background, there would be. But
I know, that's what I was saying. It sounds like there should be like dramatic music.
Oh yeah, dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
But yeah, that is such a cool concept, and that does remind me and that show was pretty popular, and it's also really, really good. Like it was made by someone really smart, is from what I remember.
Dude, R.I.P. John Schnepp.
Him.
I knew John Schnepp.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is all my brain. Yeah. Sometimes it's not there, but it's getting there now. Like all the connections. John
Schnepp, he would have been so good on this podcast.
Hell yeah.
He did the Grim Fairy Tales animated series pilot.
Fuck yeah.
He collaborated with Ralph Tedesco and Joe Brusher from Zenoscope, and I met him at New York Comic Con 2012, and he would always be at the booth, and he was like a comedian kind of. He was a great improver.
Yeah, the show was funny.
Yeah, he was really good at adding information. Interesting conversation.
That made sense.
Yeah, like Ralph would come up to him and like put his arm around him, and John Schnepp would like buckle at the knees and go, "Oh, you piece of shit, my neck," and just like he was just like silly, It was just fun and just a good guy, and yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So so this is because Pat posted. He was looking for interesting stories, right? Is that what you said? Intriguing, interesting. We like to talk to anyone about anything. And then you commented that you had just recently learned something about yourself that was intriguing, interesting.
Yes.
And we're so happy to have you on. So do you have anything to add before we ask her what's up?
No, I mean, I'll just go. What I want to say is this.
I'll have a bunch of questions probably.
Yeah, the idea for this recent phase of our podcast, because we did this phase where like we were doing multiple episodes per week. We had some solo episodes and some guest episodes, and for a while we just had the episode title as our guest's name. But what I want to do is spotlight interesting stories to bring people in. So I say someone, in the case of your example, searches like long lost family and comes to this podcast,
totally.
Then they'll get to know you through that instead of someone who's already searching your name and already knows you. Mm-hmm. So I want to introduce our guests to people through this podcast, through topics they might be interested in.
Totally.
I love that. I love that idea. And I feel like everybody has a story, whether it's small or big or anything in between. Everybody has a story. Everybody has something interesting that's happened to them in their lives. Mm-hmm. It kind of makes people a little bit more relatable, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Before we begin, can you get Nelia?
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, our cat, before we began, one of our cats, Neil, was violently harassing one of our other cats, Hoyt. And, they're in love, but sometimes...
Love-hate relationship.
Yeah, the love goes a little bit too hard, and he was biting and stuff, and we just had to separate for a while, but he'll be calm again now, and...
Did you hear him screaming or something?
Oh, yeah.
He's just laying on the bed.
Oh, maybe it was Chi-Chi screaming.
Who knows?
Because...
she wants her toy.
Exactly, yeah. Chi-Chi, our youngest cat, our Calico, will go to... there's this little bottle, little plush bottle full of catnip, and she'll go to the toy and just whine until we throw it for her. She'll never really chase it that much, but she just wants it to be thrown.
She basically wants us to come over.
Of course.
Yeah. But all right, so let's get into your story.
So, Okay, so I grew up an only child. When I was about 12, my mom and dad let me know that through some circumstances, they weren't able to have kids. And they really wanted to, my mom, I think, just really wanted to experience being pregnant. And so they didn't necessarily want to do the adoption route. And so they had told me that I was conceived via sperm donor.
Okay.
And at that time, this is like early 80s. So it was still kind of like this revolutionary thing. It wasn't even, I mean, it was still like a new thing, like test
Not
tube
so
babies
common,
and all of
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It was totally. So they told me this, and it was like, okay, so my dad is not my biological dad, but it didn't even, he was my dad. He was,
Didn't
you know,
matter.
I loved my dad. I had a wonderful father. I had great parents. And so, and at being that age, I think when you're 12, you're kind of like, oh, okay, you know, it's just, you know, if you're a little bit older, a little bit younger, it might be more traumatic. But it wasn't like, oh, I've lived my whole life and you guys never told me. So, you know, I think I just kind of accepted it and knew that's what it was. And it wasn't even really something that I thought about on the day to day because that was my dad. But there was, as I got older, I thought, you know, I could potentially have some half siblings out there. And the only thing that they had told me about the donor himself was that it was out of a sperm bank in Atlanta, because at the time, even in the Bay Area, California, there wasn't even any sperm banks. And it was near like a medical school, and there was a lot of med students. That's kind of what they did to help pay for medical school, was to do that. But that was all I knew. And so it was like, okay, the donor's probably a doctor somewhere or something. So I went pretty much my whole life just kind of in the back of my mind. And it was kind of weird too, because I had a lot of people that would tell me I looked like my dad. And I do. Like, I look like him. I look like that side of the family and everything. And so there was like that little part of me. I'm like, well, I guess, you know, there's a possibility. I mean, who knows, you know, what, you know,
happened.
my parents married.
Yeah.
So, but I never really wanted to question them about a lot of it, because I didn't want to hurt my dad's feelings. I didn't want him thinking that I thought of him as any less of a dad.
Right.
Or,
Yeah.
you know, or press them for information that they may have not wanted to give me at the time.
That's so respectful as a kid. I'd be like,
Yeah,
listen.
you know, and it was, I mean, there were times that it wasn't that I ever forgot about it, but it just never even was on my mind. It was kind of like, oh yeah, you know, it's just one of those things. He was my dad. He was the man who raised me.
Yeah, I mean, 12 does seem to be the ideal age. And so much preparation must have gone into them planning that moment.
Right.
Because, you know, there is a certain age where you know, I mean, just when you're a teenager, life does seem, everything seems heightened. You know, there's a drama to everything. And
Way more dramatic.
yeah, like that kind of thing might have, even like 13, 14, 15 might have been like, I've spent my whole life. But 12 is just, you're still on the precipice of childhood. And, you know, that, there's also less conflict between parents at that age. So I feel like in the teenage years, anything that could drive a bigger wedge between the teen, and the parent could have been a bigger deal. But 12 just seemed to be the best age to strike, you know? So kudos to them for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if I had been any younger, then they would have had the talk with me, you know, and explain all of that when I probably wouldn't have grasped it or even like understood.
Yeah.
But I think if they had waited until I was late teens, even early 20s, probably would have felt a little, I don't want to say betrayed. I would have felt a little taken aback that they had waited, you know? And so I think for them, they probably prepared it. I know that they were super scared and nervous to tell me. And it was
it's
kind
like
of a
coming
relief when
out.
I could,
Yeah.
you know? But I was a pretty laid back kid, so it was just kind of, it was what it was. But I did always wonder, and I always wanted siblings. My whole life, I always longed for siblings. I loved my life. I had great parents, but I always wanted siblings, because when you don't have, it's like grass is always greener. I always thought that it was this great thing, which of course everybody I know grew up with siblings and fought with them and, you know, whatever else. I know it's not ideal, but my dad passed away in 2007. And so, you know, it's just been kind of just my mom for a while. And at some point I kind of thought, you know, and it got hard once I had kids of my own. Because I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Yay.
And, you know, they would do like to do like a family tree, or to do, or even when I would go to the doctor's office and they would say, you know, we need a family health history. You know, what's the health history on the dad's side? You know, or what's your, you know, if people would ask me what my heritage was, you know, my dad was Portuguese and I very clearly don't look Portuguese. So that was always, I couldn't even just say it and not know. I knew everything on my mom's side. But as I got older and had kids of my own, I'm like, you know, it would be nice to know, at least know like a family health history.
Yeah, maybe if you're like predisposed to something or whatever.
You know, if there's like cancer that runs rampant or something like that, those are things you want to know, or diabetes or whatever.
Totally.
And so it kind of got more and more important as I got older. And yeah, you know, it's one of those things, you know, eventually I'll do it. Eventually I'll do like a DNA test. And last November, I finally decided to do 23andMe. And the way that works is it gives you all of your genealogy, and it also gives you stuff that you're predisposed to, which was really the main thing that I was wanting.
Yeah.
But it will also tell you if you have DNA relatives on there, if other relatives have taken it, and you have to like say, I'm okay with sharing my information. Yeah. But yeah, you can totally, all your DNA relatives will show up.
I didn't know.
Side note, I bet so many people have found out that their dad cheated on their mom through that shit.
Oh, man.
And you have to sign. I had to read this big, huge disclosure that was like, you know, you need to be prepared for some of the things you might find out on this
when
it
not
comes
paying
to both
for your
things,
Jerry
health
Springer shit.
and family.
Yeah, and and if you listeners want to have this done for yourself, you can go to 23andme.com and use promo code SPACEBETWEEN.
Yeah, right.
To get 50% off. No,
I want to get one of those kits for real.
I wish we were sponsored, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to do. I suggest everybody do it.
That's
because
so
it's
neat.
pretty fascinating.
Wow. So you get the results.
So I get the results.
How long did it take? To get the results.
It took like a month. It
Okay.
took quite a while, and they tell you too. It'll take like 4 to 6 weeks or whatever, and they email it to you. They email your results and tell you them. And so it was like a Friday afternoon, probably right about this time, and I'm like, okay, here we go, you know. And
were you alone?
Yeah, I was alone, and I clicked on the link, and I'm like, okay, the first thing I want to check is you know, like genealogy, and see, because if a kid come up, there was that little part of me that was like, well, if it says that I'm part Portuguese, then maybe it really was, you know, my dad's and stuff.
So many feelings.
0%.
Yeah.
You know? I was like, all European. I'm like, okay, well, now I know for sure. And then I went and made sure that there wasn't some huge red flags as far as health goes, you know, which thankfully there wasn't. It wasn't like, you know, you're predisposed to have this horrible disease or anything like that. And so then I clicked on DNA relatives, and immediately at that time, 4 half siblings popped up. Immediately, they were just there. Their names said half brother, half sister.
Whoa.
And that means that they've done this and said okay to release their info?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. And so I went, I mean, it was like in an instant, you know, only child to seeing that there's half siblings on there. And I think that I was in shock that was a Friday afternoon. I was in shock pretty much the whole weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Because you think you know how you're going to feel and what it could be like. And then the reality of it hits, and it's like, okay, you know, I've lived 30 plus years not, you know, thinking one thing, and you can reach out to them, you can message them on there.
Wow,
and
like
so,
through the website.
Damn, wow.
Holy cow.
Wow.
So I'm like, well, because I think that I looked at all of their profiles, and there was one person on there. There was one half sister on there that said, you know, I'm interested in finding other family members. And so I felt safest to reach out to her first. And so I messaged her, and she responded, I think, within like a half hour, I think.
Wow. And
said, you know, we can, you know, if you want to email, we can take this to email.
Yeah.
I have a lot of information for you. And so, so we started emailing, and she said, so just so you know, there's a lot more of us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold on, wait, what? And she said, you know, there's like Ancestry, there's a few other websites out there that do the same thing. And she had done them all. And so she had found more on Ancestry. So she says, yeah, at that time there were 7 others.
Wow. Was it? Do you know if it's all from his different donations?
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, because it'll tell you like, on the dad's side. And there was like, and she had said, she had corroborated everything. She said, her situation was her mom was a single mom and just wanted to have a baby. And so that's the route she took.
I've heard of that.
And she had told her the same thing. She's, it was a donor out of Atlanta. So it was, but she had a little bit more information than I did. She knew his donor number and I think kind of like some more details about him. Because you can kind of say, I want the donor to look like this. I want him to be about this tall.
Okay.
It seems so odd, but I think for a lot of parents, it's probably if they can resemble the the dad a little bit.
Of course,
then,
totally.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, so we started emailing, and she said, I'm in contact with all of the other half siblings, and I can introduce you through email so you can, but take the weekend because I know it's shocking. And, we kind of like shared some, health history and that kind of thing, just to kind of know. And so I started getting into contact with some of the other half siblings too. And it's crazy how different all of our stories are. Yeah. All the different circumstances. Some of them, their parents used several different donors to have their kids. Some, that actually is more common than anything, is that they would use multiple donors to have their kids. There's only a couple of us that were actually only children the whole time. So there's a lot of them that have half siblings and grew up with them and that kind of thing. But the interesting thing is there's a lot of us that are creative, and have creative backgrounds or are doing things creatively in the movie world or the Broadway world or TV. And so it's kind of,
wow.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
Are you able to ever find out who the guy is, or is he anonymous?
Yeah, well, that's part of the story too.
Oh shoot! This is one of the craziest stories and interesting stories I've ever.
So we spent through the holidays and everything, y'all were kind of emailing back and forth, getting to know each other, and I was kind of just kind of getting into this groove. Okay, and it's so even now for me to say sister or brother or half sister or half brother, it I stop oh yeah, it's so crazy. And then the pandemic hit, and over the spring I got a message from 23. I got alerted that somebody had messaged me through 23andMe, and she said, oh my God, I just found out that I have all these half siblings. It says you're my half sister. I said, oh, now I'm not the new kid.
Wow, he was prolific, huh?
He must have some very, and he must be attractive too, because people are like, I want that guy's sperm. I want that guy's sperm.
Yeah.
I said, go ahead and email me. And she said, can we talk on the phone? And I'm like, sure, let's talk on the phone. So she was kind of the newest sibling to find out everything. And I said, and I got to kind of play the part that my first sister that I talked to, where I said, awesome. There's more of us than what you're seeing on 23andMe.
Yeah.
So at that point, we're up to 8.
Wow.
Yeah, 9 of us total, 8.
Wow.
And and so I tell her everything, and it was funny too, because we talk the same. We're on the phone, and we're like, wow, it's and Anna had found out that and this is where it gets kind of crazy, because we're like, how many of us have we come across, because these are only the people that we know that have taken this test and have said that they want the information shared. Who knows how many others are out there? And have I talked to one before? Have I, we were all like, have we dated one before and not known it?
Yeah, totally.
All this crazy stuff. And so she is more of the sleuthing kind, and we had all kind of shared stories about the donor, and we had found out that the donor had donated mostly in Atlanta, but there's one half sibling who was conceived in Kansas. So we know that he had gone from Atlanta to Kansas at some point.
And kept his career, of sperm donating.
Exactly.
That must be...
Bro, that's so cool.
So the interesting thing about the different DNA sites is you really get to see we all had kind of this, because I had all kinds of relatives on my mom's side, but we all kind of had this one relative in common that was coming up as like a second or third cousin.
Yeah.
And we said, well, she's got to be on the donor side.
Oh, yeah.
So between a couple of them talking to her and the information that we knew about the donor, where he was from, and then kind of just doing a big family tree, we actually ended up narrowing it down. It was like a couple of weeks. This poor new house sister that came into the fray in spring went from like finding out that she had all these house siblings to finding out all this information about the donor in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And we actually did like a sibling Zoom, like Brady Bunch style.
That's literally amazing.
All the like square
Wow.
and stuff.
This could be a documentary.
Yeah, I mean, just real quick, when you see them on Zoom, right? What is the emotional feeling there? Do you feel an instant connection? Do you feel love? Do you feel? Does it feel strange that you see yourself, but you don't really know them? Like, what is that feeling?
It's all of those. It's all of those emotions. Like, we now have a group, like a sibling text thread that we're always, and we've done several of the Zooms now. And a lot of us have talked on the phone to each other. So we're all getting to know each other, but there is that instant bond.
Yeah.
Kind of. It's really weird. And I think it's varying for everybody. I think some might feel it stronger than others.
Right.
And some are kind of at a point in their life where they're interested in getting to know everybody, but they don't necessarily need it to be a huge part of their life, which is okay.
Yeah.
Because everybody's at a different point. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and it's weird too, because there's like, it's kind of split. Like, there's a lot of us have the curly hair. There's some that look a lot like me.
Yeah.
If I saw them, I would think, wow, that we kind of look alike, without knowing. And then there's others there's like, it's kind of split. There's like 4 or 5 that resemble each other. And then there's like another 4 that resemble each other.
Yeah.
And so,
Wow.
So in like a very weird set of circumstances, we ended up finding out who the donor was. And all I can say is that, because I can't publicly say anything about him, because he's a Googleable person.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really? Okay.
And you don't want to call him out in any way, yeah.
Yeah, he's renowned in his field, is what I'll say. He definitely...
He's renowned in 2 fields now,
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, it's not like Dr. Anthony Fauci or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, now I kind of think it is, though, that you said that.
But even the fact that he's not
it?
just some guy that you can say his name is pretty interesting. Is it? I don't even want to ask too many questions. But were you guys able to or did you want to be like, "Hey, Dad"?
We did.
Yo, just like there's this trope in TV, right? Where like, a dad, like say in a CW drama, right? He hears a knock at the door. He opens the door, and there's someone who looks just like him outside, and they go,
"I'm your son."
Dad? In your situation, the dad goes, "Why is there a bus parked in the driveway?" You know?
Clown car,
they just show up as they show up as like a team of Christmas carolers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
dude.
Hi, Dad.
Yeah.
So he's he definitely was in the medical field, and it's kind of in a different field now. But we were able to Google him and find a ton of stuff.
Okay.
I was like, wow, he really kind of dedicated his life to reproductive stuff.
Okay.
So,
does he have a family? Did he make children with a wife?
If you can say this, if you can't,
yeah, and that's the weird thing is, he definitely is married and ended up going on to have 2 biological children of his own.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like when he was younger, he was so interested in this field already and wanted to help in any way, and that's just like something like how people, they'll donate eggs, or one of my friends from high school is a surrogate mom, and she's had like 6 kids that aren't hers.
Yeah.
She carries them super healthy full term, and then she births them and then just gives the baby to their parents.
Gang, yeah.
It's the sickest thing. I think I
have a couple friends who've been surrogates.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how.
I'm not healthy enough physically to be a surrogate mom. I don't even know.
All right.
Yeah.
So you and your siblings reach out to him, right?
So we found out who he was, and we said, we need to get together and do a Zoom and talk about what we want to do here, because there is like a privacy thing. The donor can say whether or not they want to be contacted, and most are college kids that go and do it once and then never do it again. Our situation's even more unique than others because given the ages of all of us, we determined that he did it for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So I think one of my half brothers kind of mathematically figured it out that there could be over 100 of us easily.
Wow, you guys could make a city.
Yeah, we could, I'm like, he's like trying to build an army of like superpower. It sounds like the plot of a comic or
it's
something.
like a Marvel movie.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, you must like every time you pass someone on the street who has curly hair, you must go,
Now, yeah.
It's crazy. And we all do it now where we're like, and there's weird instances. One of my half sisters actually lived 45 minutes from me for a while. She was she was a flight attendant. And so she's been all over. But one of the cities that she lived in was 45 minutes from me. And I'm like, I was there all the time.
Right.
Could have passed each other and not even known it. And there was 2 other siblings that lived in the same city for a while and frequented the same apartment building that like kind of a mutual lived. And so there's all these, it's like, how does that even happen when there's so many, so many people in the country, so many people in the world that those little things. And so it really makes you think, and some of them found out in similar fashion like I did, and others found out pretty much as an adult or as they took 23. So it runs the gamut on emotions with knowing all of this information. But we got on Zoom and we said, what do we want to do? Do we want to reach out to this guy? Last thing we wanted was for him to think that we wanted, all of us were in agreement that we didn't want anything from him.
Or attack him or anything.
Yeah, we weren't looking to out him. We weren't looking to, find a seat at Thanksgiving dinner. We weren't looking for money because he's definitely
well off.
And so that was my thing is I'm like, I don't want him thinking that this is us looking for a handout or anything like that, because that's not what it is at all. And so
he could have been anyone.
Yeah.
That's wild.
How do you? And so we thought, what's the least invasive way that we can reach out? Because all of us kind of were on the same scope. We kind of wanted to know, we want to know a little bit of family history or anything that he could tell us.
I just kind of want to know a little more about him. I just want to have a conversation with him and stuff, maybe.
Yeah, just kind of know the type of person he was, even though there's articles and stuff about him out there, which is weird to read about.
Totally.
And so we decided, okay, we can write him a letter. We're all going to write like a cover letter that is basically like an overview of what, and then we can each write our own individual letters if we want to. And some chose not to, because there was a few that are like, nah, I don't really have anything to say to him. Whatever is said in the cover letter is good enough for me. Some wanted to send pictures, and I actually wrote my letter to him on a plane flying back from Florida on Father's Day.
Nice.
I'm like, this is kind of appropriate.
Yeah, totally.
Definitely.
So,
if it was me, I'd be like spraying it with my like cologne. I'd make him like something out of clay. I'd make him like a box. I'd be like, hey guys.
Everything, Mostly we just wanted to let him know, hey, we're all fairly well adjusted, doing well.
Yeah.
Like there's
you did good.
There's some highly educated people in my little clan, and nobody that I know of, at least so far, is a serial killer or anything. And having kids of his own, you think he's got to have thought at least some point about, I don't know, I'm not sure where his thoughts are as far as what he viewed doing this so many times and how many like offspring there would be.
Totally.
So, and since we scheduled the podcast like a couple weeks ago, another sibling has since popped up. Now there's 10 of us, including me, total. But we know that there's more.
Wow.
Did any of the siblings that you know of have situations where their parents didn't didn't tell them. Like, as you were saying, that some of them found out through the DNA test, so I'm sure some of them felt kind of lied to, like, you know?
Yeah, and I know one found out from another relative who kind of just spilled the beans accidentally one day.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
So,
Yeah, that's straight out of a TV show.
Did he respond to these letters?
He has not responded yet,
Recently.
but we know that I think for us it kind of was one of those things where it was like, you know, if he doesn't respond, there could be a million reasons for it.
Right.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I do know that because a couple of the other siblings who have something that they grew up with have reached out to their donors. And I know one in particular, it took him like 6 months or something like that because not everybody in his family knew. And he kind of had to give, you know, kind of acclimate them into knowing before he reached out to any of them.
Yeah, because it's not like you're going to go, I'm like, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm about to go donate sperm.
Yeah.
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 Well, and we don't know either. We're like, maybe his family might not know. His children are grown and adults as well, but they may not know either.
Right.
And so that would be, and it was never, and we made sure we told them, look, we're not going to go public with any of this. We're not going to out you. We're not going to tell any of them, you know, we're not going to say anything that could cause anybody in your life to find out that you don't want. But I don't know. I don't see how people could not know that he did this because there's like articles and stuff, you know, that he's written. So, so we're just kind of now, you know, for us, it's, you know, we have each other and that's the most important thing.
Right. That's so neat. You
Because
have like an immediate kind of community and you're still building, getting to know them.
Definitely, yeah. And there's probably going to be so many more considering the rate at which new ones are discovered, you know?
And when I make a documentary and it comes out on Netflix about your family, then they're going to watch it.
Yeah.
No, that's what we keep saying. And
Because-
apparently there's a TV show called Almost Family, I think. I don't know if it was on CW or something like that. I haven't seen it, but the plot is very, very similar.
Really?
Yeah.
And so when I've told people the story, they go, that's a TV show. I'm like, yeah, ours is probably crazier.
Yeah,
and more interesting.
seriously.
Definitely make a book or a movie.
I
or
watched a
something.
documentary about kids that were like illegally adopted and how they all kind of found each other and found like all this stuff about them as adults and everything like that.
Oh, I remember that.
Remember
You
that?
watching
And
it,
it's like a whole community as well. It's similar, not the same, but it reminds me of that. And I feel like, it's just such a neat story.
Definitely, yeah. And here, even if he doesn't reach out, what he did is so cool. You know, like he played a part in bringing, at a minimum, 10 lives into this world. You know, people.
And your parents were probably so happy that your mom could get pregnant and have you and stuff.
Yeah, because like if you think about it. Not to get too vulgar, but like there's way stranger things people can do with sperm. Like there was there was one time I was I told you this story once. I was in a car with two friends and I was in the back seat and we were driving slowly through this marina and our windows were rolled down and all of a sudden
Oh my God.
something rockets into the car. Like it breezes past me. It's like and we think it lands in the car, and all of a sudden the car is filled, not to get too vulgar, but with the familiar smell of
Very familiar to
Yeah,
you.
right.
yeah. And we looked all over it was as if like a spitball with not spit was shot out of a it was like it was shot out of a I almost said cannon, but I don't want to put any dirt in your name. Out of a bazooka, right? Yeah. Out of a bazooka into the car, but we couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And I was like, who could have done this? You know? But
Were you pissed?
I wasn't pissed. I was like,
So confused.
Amazed.
yeah. I was confused, and I was wondering like if there was some kind of supernatural cause, because my brain always goes to like,
Always
Was
thinks
it
there's a
some
supernatural
perverted ghost?
The other day we're like taking a shower and we're supposed to have 2 towels in the bathroom, and then he gets out and he's like, "There's one towel. There's one towel. Where's the other towel?" I was like, "We're in the Twilight Zone."
Yeah, I brought the towel in for sure. Yeah, what he did is so cool. So,
Yeah, I feel like he's like a pioneer and a hero.
I tend to think that you probably will hear back. It's probably just an overwhelming thing to hear, especially like, I mean, the amount of people involved, you know?
Yeah, and if he's like a prominent person.
Getting 9 letters from people that all have different stories, and we're all saying this, similar things, but everybody kind of had their own. And we kind of agreed. We said, we don't have to tell each other what we write in the letters. If we want to, we can. So I don't know everything that everybody else said. I do know some, but I don't know. There could be some that were,
more upset.
A little, I mean, because we're all just kind of in different places with it. But I think we're realistic. We know that that's overwhelming to get that in the mail.
Oh, yeah.
And have it be, hey, here's 9 of us,
I feel like ideally you would eventually get to meet his adult kids, and then the whole family would be together.
Yeah, because
that'd be cool.
Well, and it's strange too because it makes us sound like stalkers. And I swear to God, we're not. But
I'm way up your alley.
Very public, and you're just curious to know. And his adult children, one of them looks very much like me, probably more than any of the other siblings. And I'm like, wow, that's really crazy. But then they're at such a different spot, because I don't know how I would feel if, I learned that my dad did this and I had all these half siblings, because I'm sure, I don't know if they know or not.
Right.
I don't know. That would be kind of a weird thing to say. Hey, kids, I used to do this thing back in the day.
This would be the excuse to say that when he gets that package, because then it'd be like, and here's some people that are half of me.
It's true.
And they're cool. Like, none of them are jerks so far.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's stalkerish at all, though.
No, I don't think so either. It's your family.
Because what's more invasive? You looking for him and finding him, or his blood is in your body? You know what I mean? Right. Like that. Like you. Yeah. You have. I think that you have a right to at least reach out. Like you. I wouldn't say that. Like
he shouldn't be mad.
Yeah, you're not holding anything over him. Like he has no financial obligation to anyone, because he did this for other people, probably. Like he helped all these families.
Yes.
But I think that you have no obligation to not do this. I think that it makes sense to me to want to do this, especially because you already have this new bond with other people. Mm-hmm. I think that just this guy knowing that, he has, what he's done is he's created life and took part in creating these well-adjusted individuals.
Yeah, and that's a cool thing too, is that like he knew what he was signing up for. Your parents knew what the deal was. He went to like a thing and he did it for, like I said, for the sake of science. It's not like you found out that, before this guy was married, he was going around like having sex with a million people.
It would be one thing to find out I had all these half siblings.
Right. Just all around.
But that was exactly what we did too. And we talked about whether or not we wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. And, somebody brought up, well, he had to know that with technology being the way that it is today, that you can, with just Googling, you can find out a lot of stuff. And I'm sure he knows. He's a smart guy. Yeah. I'm sure he knew. And who knows, maybe others have reached out to him and we don't know. Right. We're pretty sure we're probably the first one.
Yeah.
But he had to have known that this day was going to come at some point in time, for as long as he did it, to know mathematically how many are out there. Statistically, somebody's going to find out information about him. And we tried to do it in the most respectful way. Yeah. And we made sure we let them know, hey, we're just letting you know, here we are.
Totally.
That's true. I didn't even think about if this was the first time or not. I just assumed it was. Maybe because you said up to 100, right?
That's what we're thinking, yeah.
That's
we're
so
thinking
wild.
It's over 100.
Yeah, so maybe he's in this situation like where if someone comes up and knocks on his door and they're all emotional and they're like, Dad, he's just like, come in, dinner's ready, like he just expects it,
I know, right? At some point, who knows if anybody else has reached out and what that experience has been like for him. And so he's like, oh God, this again.
But yeah, like we said, like he must have known, especially like being a man in the science field and stuff. It's a good thing. It's a good thing that science and reproductive science is getting better. And like, that's why he was doing it in the first place. So it's all positive, I think. All positive.
Yeah, shout to Dr. Fauci, not him,
You're sick. That was so one more question I have is like, you said he was doing it for like 10 years. So like the youngest one is like in their 20s that you know?
Youngest one is like 31. Yeah,
Okay,
it's like
cool.
early
Late
30s.
20s,
It
early
goes to
30s.
like early 40s.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Insanely cool.
Do you have any other questions?
Not that I can think of right now, but I'll probably Facebook message you.
Yeah.
Oh, you totally can. It's so I love telling people the story.
It's so interesting.
Because it's just, I'm like, but wait, there's more.
Yeah.
But wait, more.
Exactly. That was like a 6-chapter story.
Yeah, as the months go on, there will be more.
For
Because we
sure.
already know, we're like, we got to just accept the fact that there's going to be more siblings that are going to pop up. You know, people are going to take 23andMe and more are going to pop up. And, you know, our clan is going to get bigger and bigger, even though the 9 of us are bonded from having done this thing,
Yeah.
doing the letter and reaching out to him. And so now we have, you know, we've since found another sibling. And so we're like, well, we have a lot of information to tell you. She got more information than any of us ever got when we met each other.
Right in
Right.
the face, right at once. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know what? In that way, you found both of these things out at very opportune times. Being 12 years old is a great age, and coming in as the 7th or 8th sibling of 9 so far, you know, it's enough to make it whoa, but it's not enough to be like, God damn, you know, I would feel a bit worse for the 100th sibling. where,
Yeah, because that would be very, I mean, I can't even imagine going, well, there's, you know, like 100 of us or whatever, you know.
that person's like, I'm in a gang, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do your kids know and stuff?
Yeah. I've told them, well, it's crazy because my husband is an only child too. So they have no aunts and uncles, no nieces, you know, no cousins at all. Like our friends have been their aunts and uncles.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a shock for them too to be like, yeah, you have quite a few aunts and uncles, quite a few cousins.
Cool.
Yeah.
They got an
Nephews,
extended family.
And what a time to find out during this pandemic. It's going to be cool
Yeah.
once it's all done, and you could see people more in person too.
Yeah, we've talked about it. I mean, there's a few, we're all over the United States, but we've talked about, you know, getting together and doing like a little weekend retreat, sibling
Yeah.
retreat.
Like a
somewhere.
quote unquote, like a
Kinda
family
cool.
reunion, but just a family union.
Yeah.
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 I mean, you could basically have a canon convention, you know? I mean,
Hell
obviously
yeah.
they aren't all canons, you know? But
Dude, the
but,
merch
yeah.
for that convention would be so cool. Just
Oh.
cannons on everything.
And you can have like a shirt where it's like 100 stick figures, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like on the back of like a car, you know, they have the stick figure.
Oh, yeah,
Fill
exactly.
the whole window. The back.
Exactly. That's amazing.
It's hard to have a lot of stickers on it, I'm just saying.
That's so funny.
That
Wow.
is funny. Yo, that'll be actually an amazing prank if he doesn't answer. Just find his car and just plaster it with like
Cover it all
yeah,
over the place.
yeah.
Oh man. Wow.
Yeah.
So cool.
Did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean that's the latest as of today. It will probably change.
Nice.
You know, as time goes on. Otherwise, we just kind of are getting to know each other more and letting that be. If he never responds, it's okay. You know.
Yeah, you have each other too. That's awesome.
Yeah, because we have each other. And we even told him in the letter, most of us did, that the most important thing was that we had each other. That's what we wanted most. And I made it very clear. I said, I just kind of want to just know, like, you know, some health stuff and this and that. If you can, you know, email us back and tell us that, that'd be great. But if not, you know, I don't even think I said that. I think I just said, this is just what I want to know. And so as far as that goes, that's the story up until now. So
That's cool. I mean, we'll definitely have you back in the future, you know.
Yeah.
And
I'll be like, hey, I have a whole update. And then
exactly, yeah. We'll do we'll have a new appearance for you every 10 siblings, okay? And next time that you come on, we can have Matt on too, and we can do a little trio window type situation here. Could do that for your next Kickstarter campaign, perhaps, or
Totally.
if more of this comes out before then too, feel free to come back. This is super interesting to us both.
Yeah.
And anything that you want to promote besides the Kickstarter?
So we got. I wish that we could promote that we're doing shows, but we don't
Yeah.
even have that.
Yeah.
You know, all the shows have since been canceled.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're busy with the campaign. That's really what it has.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's consumed us now, and then we'll be fulfilling it. And then after that, we want to work on the sequel to Heirs of Steel Door, which will be fun because we'll both be able to co-write that
Awesome.
together. Since when I came into the picture, Matt had already kind of mapped out that storyline.
Yeah.
So it'll just be more of that. Yeah, we're hoping for one more campaign. We have, I mentioned earlier, Matt's a musician, so we have music that goes along with it. We're hoping to have another album Kickstarter, like a smaller Kickstarter, and then some support merch to go along with it. Hopefully
That would be awesome.
before, like in the fallish, before
Yeah.
the holidays.
And we'll have in the link below, in the info below, a link to the music video where it's Matt's band and you're dancing in it, correct?
It's what it is it's a band called ABNEY Park, and they're actually a band that has like steampunk influence.
Yeah.
And we met him. He's the lead singer is a friend of ours. We met him at a convention in 2018, and they've been trying to all of their shows got canceled, and so they've been doing kind of like online shows.
Mm-hmm.
But they are releasing a new album where it's covers of 80s songs. And he said, we want to do a music video that's all of our fans and friends and family members dancing in quarantine in their houses to Dancing with Myself.
Oh.
And so that's what it was. And he asked Matt, and because Matt's personality is just perfect for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I want to do it too. And so we recorded like the next day, like 40 seconds of us dancing to the song, and then
That's
put it
nice.
out, like,
Cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that.
so Matt's daughter's in it. And yeah, we had fun.
Oh,
That's
cool.
dope.
Yeah, shout to Matt. Shout to that bad boy, Dr. Fauci, And
Not Dad. Dr. Fauci. I was like the first doctor. Like I'm like, what's a famous doctor? Oh yeah, that's like the first one that popped into my head.
It made sense. Now Pat just wishes it was him.
yeah, I'm thinking.
Yeah, that would be pretty fascinating. I'm not sure I could keep that a secret.
Right?
True, yeah, because it could be Fauci, it could be Dr. Phil, it could be Dr. Oz, it could be Dr. Drew.
Dr. Phil?
Who knows,
Not Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
I don't think Dr. Phil's wife would approve of that sort of history for some reason.
Yeah, I'm thinking not.
Yeah.
But listen, thank you for coming and doing this. This was an awesome story, and we'll
really
be
was.
happy to have you back anytime.
Totally. I can't wait to.
Really
I'm gonna
appreciate you guys.
Facebook friend you.
Yes, please
Cool.
do. That would
Cool.
be fun. I'll keep
So
you
nice to meet you.
updated anytime
Awesome.
anything happens.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great night.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
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 That was sick.
That was sick.
That was so interesting.
Not to
It's like weaving.
not to denigrate any of our previous guests, but that was one of our
that.
best guests for sure.
Yeah, it was super cool.
That story was sick. Steph is awesome. Please, if you don't support the Kickstarter below, you're a broke.
Which is, if that's the case, then it is what it is,
I was about to say donate $1 if you can, but it does kind of grind my tits when I see
You
a
don't
$1.
like that, yeah.
I don't like that, dude. It's like, is it a gesture of kindness or is it just to get the name on the campaign? Like, I understand if it's a gesture of kindness, but if you can't afford it, it's okay. You don't gotta give me $1, Papa. I want you to get the book if you want it through my campaigns, but maybe I'm not sure if Steph and Matt agree. So if you have $1, please give it to them. But listen, that story I thought was awesome. If you feel that you might be among the siblings, feel free to reach out to Stephanie. I'm sure that she'd be happy to have you. So you can join the CC. That's the Cannon clan. I mean, I'm sure the Cannon is her father's last name, not the donor. But still,
Yeah, her.
it just sounds good.
Yeah, they probably have all different last names, come to think of it.
Oh yeah.
But,
Listen.
man, yeah, that was super awesome.
We're out of here. It's time for me to get ready for the next Pokemon Go event. That's Ultra Unlock Enigma Week with the
shit.
release of Shiny Staryu and new Pokemon, the extraterrestrial Pokemon LGM. And I'm telling you this, I'm a fucking cool guy, okay?
He is.
And just to recap,
I'm wearing your socks today.
Very good.
He hates it.
I don't hate it at all. What I hate is that I had one final fucking thought, right? And it was cut off. Okay? Just to recap, I do forgive Travis.
Space between.